Good morning. My name is Sofanya, and I'm very happy to be here today hosting YourTown in our beautiful Monterey on a rainy day. And I'm an artist from Big Sur, where I've lived now for almost 23 years, and I'm feeling so blessed to live in this beautiful area, get to wake up every day to such natural beauty, and do my art and share with so many. So today I'm very excited to interview Dr. Joshua Gordis, and one of the reasons that I'm excited to do this is because I'm very interested in the creative process, as well as using both left and right side of the brain so that we can lead a balanced, full, and happy, productive life. And I know that Josh uses both sides of his brain very well. And I believe that we're all multifaceted and we have more than one talent and gift. And so I'm interested in knowing, Josh, how you got started. I know that you're a mechanical engineer professor at Naval Postgraduate School.
That's right.
So good morning, and thank you for being here.
Good morning. It's good to be with you.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got started? Is this something that you were interested in as a child, or did it happen later? How did you get into mechanical engineering?
Well, as a kid, I didn't really know what to do. And I went into engineering for lack of a better choice at that time. And I've always had an interest in mechanical things and machines, but it turns out that engineering education really is less concerned with, things and parts and machinery and so forth in the physicality of them, but is more concerned with the physics and the ways of analyzing things like that. So that was kind of a shock to me when I started school. And so I had a kind of a turbulent time as an undergrad. And so it was, you probably would not have guessed that I would end up being a professor of engineering based on, what I went through as an undergrad.
Well, then where did you go from there? You pursued your interest there. Is that because it's something that you felt you were good at, or that you were inspired by and then you had to get good at it? How did you pursue that?
Well, it probably wasn't until later in my undergraduate education that I got inspired by the actual engineering. And I didn't consider myself good at it, but I felt like I was committed to it and basically just forced myself to do it. And then later on, I discovered a certain area of engineering which piqued my interest. And that's what kind of kept me going in the field. And so after undergrad, I took a job in Boston where I was working on nuclear power plants, and I was doing seismic stress analysis of nuclear power plants. And it was during that job that I really got the idea that I would like to delve more deeply into some of the theoretical aspects of that field of engineering, which for me is that field is structural dynamics. And that field has a lot to do with vibration. And I think that the connection of that to music was part of the inspiration for me to go into that field and at a graduate level and study it. So I did go back to school. I left my job in Boston and went back to grad school thinking I would get a master's degree. And so I spent a couple of years working on the master's degree, and things were going pretty well for me. So I decided to stay for the PhD. So it was really kind of a, an about face based on, how I did as an undergrad, which was rough for me, and then sort of discovering in myself this interest and ability to do this kind of work. And so I finished my PhD doing research in structural dynamics, and incidentally, structural dynamics is concerned with the dynamic behavior of structures, such as buildings in an earthquake, a spacecraft during a launch event, a vehicle moving over the road, how those structures deform and respond to those environmental dynamic inputs. So that was that field connected with my interest in music and motivated me to go on.
And you did some research on vibration as well that that became sort of a foundation for others. So you've done some groundbreaking work in your research.
Yeah, I've made some contributions that have been important in the field. Along the way, and in doing research, specifically as a faculty member at the Naval Postgraduate School, I've done research in structural dynamics and various outgrowths of that that have been of interest to others. And so it's a good feeling when that you doing research is a creative endeavor, and even though it's really a lot of math and a lot of computers, that what people on the outside of the field might not really get is that it's a creative endeavor, and that there's an excitement of discovery, of coming up with something new that answers a question that has not been answered. And that's really a very powerful motivating force in doing research, is that excitement and the ability to create new knowledge when there wasn't any.
I can imagine that would be very exciting to make that new discovery, and along the lines of recognizing that is part of the creative process. So there's, I wanted to share a little bit about the left and the right side of the brain. This short definition I have is: the left side of the brain is responsible for controlling the right side of the body. It also performs tasks that have to do with logic, such as science and mathematics. On the other hand, the right hemisphere coordinates the left side of the body and performs tasks that have to do with creativity and the arts. So it seems to me you're very balanced that way, that you've got the science, which is also creative in being able to manifest a new discovery and new vision. How does that relate to your amazing guitar playing? And also, I know that you're actually a beautiful visual artist. I've seen your drawings, and they're pretty amazing.
Well, that's probably a pretty generous assessment. I consider them to be more doodles than art, but I'm also a version of ambidextrous, because I do certain things with my left hand and I do certain things with my right hand. I do write and draw with my left hand, but I play guitar right-handed. So there may be some confusion going on in my brain, I don't know. But yes, I guess my primary creative endeavor is music and playing the guitar, although I do enjoy doing those doodles.
You did an experiment, though, with guitars, and which kind of marries both your research of vibration. Didn't you do an experiment?
Yes, I did. This was a number of years ago where I was working with Richard Hoover at Santa Cruz Guitar Company, and we were doing a show for the Canadian Discovery Channel. And the show focused on Richard's use of old wood in building guitars. And so one of the things we did to compare the vibration characteristics of an old 100-year-old panel of wood that would be used for the top of a guitar, to compare its vibrational characteristics with a relatively newer panel of wood, identical in shape and type of wood and dimensions. So I did some vibration testing on these two panels of wood to illustrate the differences, the sonic differences in these two pieces of wood. And what we found, which Richard inherently knew from many years of building some of the finest guitars in the world, is that the old wood has a richer and more complex sonic fingerprint, if you will.
So tell us about your guitar playing, and what type of music do you play, and how do you feel that your artistic side balances the other, or are they just all kind of part of the same life force?
I would say that the inspiration, the energy, and the drive for guitar playing really, for me, pre-existed any of my scientific or technical activities. I've been playing guitar, more or less since I was a teenager. But it has been with me for so long. The drive for it never seems to go away, to play guitar. And so I play a little blues, I play a little jazz, and then sort of a hybrid of blues, pop, and jazz. And that's always been a great joy to me. And I also enjoy just the instruments themselves, and the beauty of the guitar, the shape of the guitar, the craftsmanship of a guitar, and that it marries construction and physics with a purpose of creating something that's sort of transcendent of physicality, which is music.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, I've heard you play, and I so enjoyed that. I hope to hear you more often.
Thank
playing
you.
out there in the world too.
Thank you.
So I know that because of your background in engineering, you're very interested in machinery as well. So you have a pretty extensive machine shop, and you do woodworking as well.
Yes. I've had an interest in machining and woodworking for quite a while. And the machining, actually, I rebuilt a 1959 South Bend metalworking lathe, which is a machine for turning metal parts. And along with a milling machine, that I use these tools to help me build a system for measuring motorcycle chassis geometry. And so this system involved my analytic abilities, in that I wrote software which would analyze the measured data from a motorcycle, and the motorcycle was measured using a digital theodolite, which is like a surveyor's instrument. But the machining allowed me to build all the hardware, the mechanical parts for this system, and then the software required computer skills, obviously, and a lot of geometrical calculations, which had a lot of enjoyment for me to develop all of that technical side to this project of measuring motorcycle chassis geometry, the system to measure motorcycle chassis geometry. And this system would be used, for example, if a motorcycle was in a crash and you wasn't sure that the frame was bent. So you could measure the motorcycle, and the software would tell you if the frame is bent, or if you're a racer and you're interested in setting up the chassis for a particular racetrack, and you wanted to check to see what the geometry of the chassis was, or you wanted to record the geometry of the chassis after adjustments have been made, you could use this system. So this was another example of where my engineering skills, along with my interest in machines and machining and software development, came together.
Wow, you talk about multifaceted. It's very interesting. So ultimately, do you feel that all of these, it seems to me that all the things that you do really connect. Do you feel a sense of balance from all this, and how do you plan on moving forward in the future? Is focusing on your music more, and your machining? I know that you have some projects ongoing, and with regards to your music also, you have original music that you play, and I'm just so interested by how your mind works with regards to the analytical side, and how that produces the vision and the creativity, or does the creativity happen first and then the analyzing?
I'd say that you learning, for example, math and computers, it becomes an environment in your mind in which you can be creative. Just like learning an instrument provides another medium in which you can be creative. And so I think the creativity can be channeled into a variety of avenues, which I've been fortunate enough to have done over these years.
Well, thank you so much. You've been a great inspiration, and I'm so happy to have had this conversation. I hope we can have another one sometime. And is there anything else that you'd like to add to? Would you like to share with the world here in Monterey and about how to inspire them to move forward with their creativity?
Well, I pay attention to the signals that come to you inside, and follow them.
Well, thank you so much. This is YourTown TV. I'm Sofanya, and thank you so much for joining us today.